Okay, so now you're deciding to go somewhere. And it doesn't matter where it is. Small scale journey or large scale journey. Because a large scale journey is composed of a multitude of small scale journeys. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm going to build up a moral hierarchy for you from the bottom, okay? And here's one of the things that's kind of cool about doing this, because it actually solves to some degree the mind-body problem if you do that. And so if you're sitting there thinking, geez, I wish that I could solve the mind-body problem tonight, then, you know, maybe tonight's your lucky night, because maybe that's what's going to happen. So imagine that you're going to do something like prepare dinner. You might think that's a good thing. So that's interesting. So it's an action, but we'd also put a moral dimension on it. It's good to feed hungry people, yourself included. Maybe you do a good job of making dinner. That'd even be better. Not only are you making dinner, but you're making a good dinner. And so that makes making dinner an even more impressive moral feat, because you could make some wretched, cold, dismal, massive, glutinous catastrophe and serve it with contempt and hatred to the people that are around you, you know. You could do that, and it would still be dinner, but, you know, it'd be a low quality. It'd be a low quality and all too common occurrence. But let's say that you do it right, you know. It's like you're going to put some effort into it. It's going to be delicious. That'd be nice. It's going to be nutritious. It's going to be attractive. And it's going to be served with the proper attitude. You know, you're happy that you have some food. That's kind of nice. It hasn't been all that long that everybody had food. And certainly it hasn't been all that long that everybody had a vast variety of high-quality food. And so a little gratitude would be nice. And so you got your, back to the task at hand. You're going to make dinner. So the question is, well, what exactly do you do to make dinner? And it's kind of an abstract idea to make dinner. Let's go make dinner. You can say that abstractly, but when you actually go to make dinner, it's not abstract anymore. You go into the kitchen and you open the refrigerator, and that's not abstract, right? That's not mental, it's physical. You're interacting with the world. You grab the door handle on the refrigerator and you open it. And you don't really know how you do that. You know, I mean, I know you know how to close your hand and move your arm, but you don't know how to close your hand and open the door. Your mind, that's where your mind runs out. It knows how to operate your voluntary musculature, but it doesn't know how. So your mind grounds out in your body. And I'm going to make the case that morality does that as well. And it's part of this idea that the world is an action-oriented place. You open the fridge, you think, hey, carrots. We're going to need some carrots. So you take the bag of carrots out of the fridge and you put them on the counter and you peel the carrots. And again, same thing. Bit of expert behavior there, you know, because you've peeled carrots before. And it's a bit deterministic because you've learned how to do it habitually. And so you peel the carrots and you take out the parts that aren't so edible, if you have any sense. And then you take out your knife, and maybe you have a nice knife with a nice wide blade at the end so you can chop up carrots. It's kind of fun to do that if you're good at it, because you can, you know, make 100 slices in 20 or 30 seconds if you've practiced it. And you take your carrot and you go, and then you have all these. You don't have to make that noise, by the way, but you can if you want. And then if you're good at it, then all the carrots are pretty much the same thickness, and that's kind of cool. You got a little expertise there, and you got all the carrots lined up, and maybe then you put them in some foil, and you add a little butter and some, I don't know, cumin and a bit of pepper, and make them into a foil packet. This is what we do in Canada. You might do that. You guys barbecue, I've heard. And then you throw the things on the barbecue, and you wait till their steam puffs up the foil, and you think, done. And if you have any sense, at the same time, you know, you're cooking the steak, and it's done at the same time, and the potatoes, and it's all done at the same time, and it's caramelized nicely, so it's got a bit of sweetness, and, you know, you've got the right amount of butter for the potatoes, and you serve it, and that's good. That's good. And it took you a long time to learn that. And there's a hierarchy there, eh? So the hierarchy is, the lowest part of the hierarchy is the muscular movements, say, that you employ when you're slicing up the carrots. There's nothing abstract about that. And then there's the sequencing of the carrots in the foil and the placing them on the grill and all of that. And that's where the the rubber hits the road. And you think, well, hey, I made a good dinner. And then you might think, well, what's making a good dinner a subset of? You might think, well, you know, if you're a good friend, good parent, maybe one of the things that you could do is make a good dinner. Like, it's not the only thing. I make a good dinner, and so I'm a good friend. It's like, no. But maybe that's 1/5 of it, or 1/10 of it. It's some non-trivial proportion of it. Necessary, but not sufficient. Is that right? No, that's not right. It's not necessary. Anyways, it's one of the things you could do to be a good friend. And then, you know, if you have a friend, maybe he makes you a good dinner now and then, and there's some reciprocity there. So so you're capable of engaging in that reciprocity. And that's another thing that might make you a good friend or a good parent, let's say. So let's say there's 10 things like that at that level that make you a good parent. It's like, well, what? You can make a good meal. You can clean up the kitchen. That's a good thing to be able to do. You can clean up the bathroom and the rest of the house. So there's maybe 5. You know how to clean. Well, that's part 2 of being a good parent. You get along with your partner. You know how to negotiate with them. And some of the things you negotiate about are those lower level tasks that you're going to engage in. It's like, well, I made dinner. Maybe you could clean up the kitchen. And, you know, there'd be some reciprocity there. And if you're a good person, which is getting a little higher up in the value hierarchy, then you can engage in that kind of negotiation. So, and that is exactly what you would be negotiating, is those tasks. And so, well, so maybe you're the sort of partner that can communicate with your partner, and maybe you're the sort of parent that can bring their children into the kitchen and teach them the mechanical elements of food preparation, starting at the bottom, right? I mean, maybe you're not going to give them the sharp knife to begin with, but you might get them to set the table. It's like they're 2.5. It's like the table needs to be set. Here's a spoon. Kid, take the spoon. The kid can do that. He knows what a spoon is. You don't say, set the table for a dinner party of 20 to a 2.5-year-old, right? Because they haven't got that level of abstraction mastered. You say, you see this? Yes. Pat, pat. Here's a spoon. Yes. Can you say spoon? Spoon. Good. Good. Take the spoon. Take it. Good. You know where the table is? Yes. How about if you go put the spoon on the table? It's like, yeah, I can do that. So the kid wanders over and puts the spoon on the table and then maybe comes back and looks at you. And they look at you to think is, well, did I get the spoon on the table right? Did I do it right? That's one thing. Did I undertake the action correctly? That's one thing. And was it a good action, right? Did I do something that was morally appropriate? They're trying to check both of those out at the same time. And you pat them on the head and you say, hey, good job, man. You're growing up. And by that, you also signify to them that growing up is a good thing. And that's also important. And then you say, well, here's another spoon. You're going to encounter lots of spoons in your life. Why don't you go put it on the table too? And so, you know, they put the spoons on the table, and then maybe you show them how the spoons might be arranged, and then maybe you trust them with a fork, and then they can do the same thing, and then with the knife, and, you know, a dull butter knife sort of thing, at least to begin with, and with the dishes, and you teach them bottom up, right? Reflex upward. You teach them the mechanics of preparing something complex. And so they have all those micro skills embedded in them, so to speak. Now, they're part of their psychophysiological ability. And at some point, with a certain amount of training, might take 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, you can say, set the table. And then the kid knows exactly what to do. But they don't know what to do until they have all those micro routines mastered. And so that's kind of cool, because what it indicates is that the command, the macro command, set the table, is only something that has a meaning when the micro processes that are motoric have already been mastered. And that's a really good way of thinking about how you're constituted. Like, you have a lot of skills, things you can do with your body. Action-oriented skills and perceptual skills. And once you have them as part of you, then other people can refer to them, and you understand each other. And that's partly how we understand each other, is that we share a hierarchy of skill and perception that's built from the bottom up to a very high level of abstraction and also a very high level of isomorphism, meaning it's the same for everyone. So okay, I'll explain that momentarily here. So now, we already established that you have to do things. And I'm going to elaborate on that claim a little bit. So you have to do things. And you have emotional systems that help you decide whether you're on the right path. Because if you have to do things, you're on a path. And if you're going somewhere, you better be on the right path. And so then you need something to tell you whether or not you're on the right path. And that's what your emotions do. Your positive emotion and your negative emotion. They're orienting systems that tell you whether you're on the right path. And the path is defined by the goal. So you need a goal. So that's the first thing to think about. It's really, 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 really important to think about this.